Welcome back to Timo's Dinky Detailing. Today I'm going to be doing a demonstration of a new technique I figured out for mushrooming axle ends. What I've done in the past is mostly hammering with a small hammer on the end of the axle that needs to be mushroomed. That resulted in bent axles, and it was a lot of trouble, and there's a high chance of damaging the model. Also, I tried the hammer drill uh, method of mushrooming, and that was not the best either, because if it slipped off, it can go into the body of the toy. So then I came up with this method, which does the axle completely off of the model, and that involves drilling a hole in the end of the axle, and then into that hole, you can see I'm doing this on the lathe, and then I would put a nail that I've turned down first to the right diameter, and then I file a dome on it, and then I could also buff that up. That works pretty good, but the problem is it's a lot of work with the lathe. So I'm looking for a different system, one where most of that work has already been done. So I started searching on the internet for tubing that's 2 millimeters to match an axle, and I found on Amazon 2 millimeter tubing. There's various wall thicknesses. Tubing is measured by, it's tubing because the measure is by the outside diameter. And here you get 8 pieces of tubing, and I chose the diameter to match a nail that I also found on Amazon. And these little nails are perfect. They match the hole in the tubing, and they've got a nice domed head that's perfect, and it's exactly the right diameter to be the mushroom. So that's how I was able to select those. And here I'm going to the lathe to get a collet, and I'm choosing a big one because what I need is a collet for a 2 millimeter shaft. And I needed to make a way of holding it so I could cut it to the right length. So by using the collet, obviously this is way too big. I need 2 millimeter. I don't have a 2 millimeter, and it's pretty expensive to get a 2 millimeter collet, so I made my own collet adapter. And this has a 2 millimeter hole, and it just fits inside the 5/8 5C collet that I use on my lathe. But I'm not going to use it on the lathe because all I need to do is cut that piece of stainless tubing down. So I put the collet into this collet block. This is, you can put it into the milling machine and mill flats onto a round part. So I'm just going to use it as a clamp, and it's heavy, so it basically stays where it is. And I put the tubing into the collet adapter. It doesn't want to go in because it needs to expand a little bit to let the tubing in. So I take it out, and then I can put it in afterwards to squeeze on it. So I put it in there first. I leave it sticking out enough that I can measure and then cut. And here at the end I've got a thing I can tighten. You could use some other kind of clamp. In fact, I was thinking of 3D printing a clamp that would hold the 2 millimeter diameter. But this is working better for me. So here I take my original axle, and then I mark it with a pen, and I use the Dremel tool with the cut-off blade. And I do it very carefully and slowly. I don't want to burn it, and I don't want to get it in the wrong place or break the cutting wheel. And then I file the end until it's nice and flat. So this is, instead of drilling to make that hole in the end, the hole is already there. It's an old engineering principle: don't make something that already exists that you can just buy. Now for a mushroom, I bought these little tacks. I'm going to put links to these things. They're both from Amazon, easy to search for, and ordered them in. And these tacks are perfect. They have a nice round head on them. They're steel. They've got a kind of a bronze finish to them. So I'm going to go on the buffing wheel and just take that finish off and polish it up. And it polishes up in a couple seconds. There it is. It's done. So then I take my axles. Again, I didn't have to drill them, so I just put them into one of my other painting stand for cars, And so they stand up, and then I'm using Eileen's Hobby Glue, which is a tacky glue. It dries very quickly and it's tacky right away. And I put some glue in there. I put a fair bit in there. I don't know how much I really need, but I can put as much as I want because it's hollow. It'll just push the excess deeper in. So it's a pretty simple process. It's more difficult when you're looking at the telephone screen while you're doing the work rather than looking directly. But you can see they look absolutely perfect like original mushrooms. So then those dried overnight. You don't need to. You could use 5-minute epoxy, but I just happened to be having only a little while, so I did it one day, and then the next day I came to put it onto the base of the toy. And then you just basically put the wheels on. And in this case, I used the 5-minute epoxy. This is the stuff I use. It's from the Dollarama. It's very good 5-minute epoxy. Although if you get an old tube, I had an old tube that I was only able to use once because it was already hardening in the tube. So that then the next time I went to use it, it had hardened inside the tubes. So this is a fresh tube, and I did again with the toothpick. I just put in a little bit of the epoxy, and I've got my little tack, and it goes in, and it pushes the glue in front of it. I have to be careful because I don't want the glue to come out onto the head and then glue itself to the rim. So this is what the final product looks like on the vehicle. It's a perfect mushroom, best you could possibly ask for, and it's a very simple method to do it. I have the links below for the parts, and I hope you find this helpful. So I hope you enjoyed this special episode of Timo's Dinky Detailing. Until next time, be seeing you.